Hi, everyone. This is Ghost Shorts, and I'm Diane. And this is the story about my upstate New York house, three-story duplex apartment. And I moved into that apartment after I came back to the US from Hungary in around 2012, very end. It was December. And I asked the landlord because it was built in the 1800s. And the weird thing was that this house looked like a house that when I was younger, I would cut out pictures of houses and rooms that I wanted my future home to look like. And this house looked just like one of the pictures that I cut out of the kind of house I wanted to live in. So it's weird that I lived in this house. But when I moved in, I asked the landlord, is it haunted? And they're like, oh, no, we lived there. It's not haunted. We never had any experiences. Now, I did have neighbors and we had two staircases. It was a big living room. As you walked in the front door, there's a big staircase, mahogany staircase going straight up to the second floor. And as you walked around, you could go back up to another mahogany staircase up to the attic. And there was a door under the main stairway on the ground floor that went down to the basement. So all the stairs were one on top of the other. And there was a big living room with a bay window, a big dining room behind that with a bay window looking out to the neighbor's house. The living room window looked out to the street, and there was a kitchen behind, straight in from the front door. You would go in the front door straight down the hallway. There was a little lavatory next to the kitchen. It wasn't under anything really. It was under the walkway above the hallway, upstairs hallway. But the kitchen went straight back, and then there was a glass door, a half glass on the top that went to a mud room, and from the mud room there was another glass and wood door to the outside. So when I moved in there, I had no furniture yet. I had to wait for the movers to come. I had an air mattress. And I just felt kind of like this is a big, old, creepy house. So I slept on the living room floor the first night, but I did have a Christmas tree that I had bought in my car. And I set up the Christmas tree. I had a Christmas tree, I had an air mattress, and I had a table and chairs that my brother's wife had given me, and my son had been driving by and dropped it off for me before I moved in. So when I moved in, the table and chairs was there, and I just slept on the floor waiting for my furniture to come. It just didn't feel, it felt kind of creepy. But at the top of the stairs was a small room, and that was the only connection to my neighbors other than the outside doors. They had a small room up there too, but there was a door between it. It was locked. Couldn't really get in, but you could hear them. The kids would play video games in there. I had my office set up there, but there was no heat in the room. And because it was upstate New York, it was December, it was dark. I didn't really use that room much other than to store my books and records, like my financial stuff and my printer for my computer. And but it had a beautiful view of the yard and the neighbors' yards. It was very pretty, and high up. So that was at the top of the stairs. Then at the top of the stairs, you could go straight into the little room, turn to the right, and go all the way around. There was a guest room right above the dining room that would look out at the neighbor's house. And then the big master bedroom that I chose to use had big bay windows looking out to the street, and it had kind of a half walk-in closet. I was able to put a dresser in there for a little bit, and then it still had plenty of room to hang clothes and shelves and stuff. So it was kind of a walk-in closet with a light that had the pull cord. And the one thing about the master bedroom was the door was really sticky. It was hard to open, and it made a lot of noise if you tried to open it. Next to the master bedroom and at the bottom of the stairs that went up to the attic was the bathroom. And it was a very narrow bathroom. There was a beige tub with brown tiles on the wall, and a very narrow walkway to where a sink was along the wall. And then the toilet was behind the tub and a window that looked out to the front. I mean, it seemed like that could have been a closet at one time, but it was a bathroom, the full bathroom, and that was the only one on the upstairs. And then downstairs was a tiny little lavatory below, where it probably was below this hallway at the top of the stairs. So, and upstairs in the attic, it was mostly finished on one side. There was a room above the master bedroom that was just an attic room. I never went in there because there were holes in the ceiling and apparently there were bats in there. So I just left that door shut and didn't go in there. But there was a storage closet in the attic. People had slept up there. There was an air conditioner and a little bit of a carpeted area. So it wasn't creepy, at least not during the day. I didn't go up there at night if I didn't have to. The basement was kind of mildewy and damp, but I only went down there because I had some stuff stored there, but it was pretty damp and I could have had a washer and dryer, did not get one. When I first went in there and I got my stuff delivered to me, I had a lot of bins in the upstairs bedroom at the top of the stairs. And as I was going through them, I saw out of the corner of my eye kind of a shadowy figure kind of come from where the guest room was, lean in to kind of look at me and back out. And I looked and I said, did I just see this? It made me feel like it was like a college age guy, kind of like looking in, like, what are you doing? Who are you? And then backing up off. That was that. That's the only time I saw that. So I said, oh, the house is a little creepy. Maybe it's just me imagining things. So the guest room always made me feel uncomfortable. The closet in the guest room backed up to my closet in my bedroom. And as I said, nothing from the neighbor's apartment touched my ceiling, touched my bedrooms, nothing. That bordered the stairs and then that little tiny room at the top of the stairs. And that's really all I could hear. In the kitchen, I could hear the other side of the kitchen sometimes, but not upstairs. So, I mean, there were things that were happening a lot. And what was happening mostly was the shower was going on without me turning it on. For example, I would go in, take a shower, turn it off, go and do my hair and everything, get changed, get dressed. And I would go downstairs. And as I was eating breakfast, I would hear water running. And I would go upstairs and the shower would be running. Now, it wasn't just a trickle. It was full on shower running. So I would turn it off. And at first the knob was turned. So I thought, well, maybe it's one of those situations where the pressure of the water is, and the knob needs to be adjusted, and that the knob was turning. And when I would turn it off, it would go off and it would stay off for the rest of the day. After a while, I would hear the water running and I would go up to turn it off. The knob was not turned, but as soon as I touched the knob, the water stopped running. I didn't turn the knob. I didn't have to tighten it. It hadn't been turned on. So I said, well, that's weird because the knob is not turned on. The knob is still tightly closed. The water's running. And when I touch the faucet, it shuts off. I'm not doing anything to shut the water off. So I had the landlord look at it, and I had started dating a guy who worked on older homes. He worked for the park services, so he worked on the older buildings. And he looked at it and he's like, I don't see why this would be turning anything on. He's like, does it just dribble? Does it leak? No, it comes full on. And one day I was doing my hair and I said out loud, now don't go turning that water on the minute I get downstairs to have my breakfast. I don't want that water coming on. And I went downstairs, and as soon as I hit the bottom step and off the stairs, psh, I hear the shower running. And I ran upstairs and I'm like, I told you not to turn that water on. And the water shut off. The knob wasn't turned. Just went in, went to shut the water off. It wasn't turned on. The water went off and I went down and that was fine. Sometimes I worked about a few blocks away. It was up a hill and over a bridge, and that was at a college. I would come home at lunchtime and the shower would be going full blast. And I was always afraid, like if I went to visit somebody, my kids, for a week or a few days, that the water would be running. And that's why I told the landlord, I don't want to be paying for water because, I'm not turning it on. It's running by itself. And he couldn't find anything wrong with it. So, so that was frequent that would happen. In my bedroom one day, I went to turn the light on and I'm pulling the cord and it didn't come on. So I'm like, okay, went to the drawer, started getting stuff out of the drawer, and then the light came on. And I was like, okay, maybe it was just loose, but I didn't touch it. I didn't tighten it or anything. I couldn't even reach the bulb. So I said, all right, well, I'm not going to think about that. But I don't remember if it was that day or another day. I went into the closet and there was just pounding on the wall around me and the closet walls and the ceiling. Now, my neighbors were nowhere near that closet. What was near the closet was the attic upstairs and the guest room on the other side of the closet. And I'm in the closet saying, where is that banging coming from? Why is there banging on the walls? And I just let it bang. And I just remember leaving the closet and it stopped. I don't remember if I was in there or not. So that was kind of strange. And I always left the guest room door closed because at night, I didn't like walking past it. During the day, I would go in there. I kept my coats in the closet there. I had 2 guest beds that I got in case somebody came to visit. And eventually, an old boyfriend had said he wanted to come up and visit and stay with me. And he ended up moving in for a while. And he was in the guest bedroom the first night and said he saw a face in his face, right up against his face, and he just closed his eyes. He said a lot of times he felt somebody near him. But one time when I was in my bedroom, in the master bedroom, he was in the bathroom and the lights were on and I was just kind of dozing. It was around midnight and he yells at me, where are you? Did you just go in the guest room? And I said, no. And he said, I just saw someone walk in the guest room. It looked like they had a long robe on and they just walked. It looked like a woman walking into the guest room. And I said, I was just about asleep in my bed in the master bedroom. And so he was kind of freaked out by that. And then a lot of times, eventually he was sleeping in my room but he slept. I would leave work and close the door. And if I wanted to get something out of the bedroom and not wake him up, I had to really quietly press the door in a certain way to get it open, because otherwise it made a lot of noise and it was hard to open the door. once it was shut. So I was really trying to be quiet if I did that. So I knew that the door did not open easily once it was shut. And one morning we were just laying there in the bed, and the door was shut tight, and you could hear this like pushing against it. It felt like you could hear just this, like the door kind of trying to open. And I'm like kind of glancing over at it. And it took more 5 minutes or more. You could hear this like almost like a pressure against it, but not a lot. And all of a sudden you saw the door go like somebody just eventually got it open, had been pushing against it. You would think it was like a dog pushing against the door to get it open. And it opened, and I looked at my boyfriend and I said, "Did you see that?" And he goes, "I'm trying not to see that." He just did not want to be, I think he didn't want to be scared, but it was kind of unnerving to him. And I just let it go. Um, at the end, he had moved out. I was moving because I lost my job, and I was moving to another apartment. But I had pneumonia when I was preparing to move out. So I was lying on the couch um, in the living room and trying to catch my breath so I could do what I had to do to pack up. And the couch was kind of catty corner against the wall, but sort of in the corner. And as I'm lying on the couch, I kind of opened my eyes, and that shadow figure that had peeked in at me when I first moved in seemed to be behind the couch, but there was a wall there. And he was like kind of looking at me like, "You okay?" And I looked, I didn't, and he was, as soon as I saw it, he was gone. The last thing that happened in that house was I was getting ready to move into another apartment before moving to another town. And I was sitting in the living room, and my old boyfriend was there, stopped by on his way to the store. And I was still not feeling well. And he left, and I was going to go out to a store as well. And I went out to the store, and when I came back, I looked at that window that went into the mudroom from the kitchen, and there was a big giant face that was drawn like the shape of an onion. So it kind of had a crisscross at the top of the head, an onion, and a big smile, and like circular eyes. And I was like, it was pretty high up, because at first you didn't realize it was high up. It was a big circular smiley face. And I texted him and said, "Did you draw a face on my door, on my glass door?" And he's a germaphobe. So he goes, I wouldn't touch something dirty and do that deliberately. So I thought, if he did and he's just gaslighting me, I don't know. But it was creeping me out that there was this face there, because if he didn't do it, who did it? Because that door was not to the outside, it was to the mudroom, and there was another locked door in the backyard. And generally nobody went in or out that door. My neighbors never came up to that door either. They would, if they were going to come to talk to me, they came to the front door. So I said, I'm going to wipe this thing off. I can't look at this, because if it is like a ghostly drawing, then then I want it out. And I went to clean it, and I said, wow, this is pretty high up. It was like over 6 feet above. I guess it started around maybe 5 feet, maybe 4.5 feet. And it went up to 6 feet high. And I had to get a ladder to clean the window. But as I started cleaning it, I was like, what side is it on? What side was drawn on? And it was, the whole circle was drawn. Half of it was on one side of the glass, and the other half, it was like one long circle, but it was on, half was on one side of the glass and half was on the other. So as I started cleaning the one side of the glass, I realized it's not just on the one side of the glass. There's the rest of it is on the other side of the glass. So that creeped me out because it's as if it wasn't just touching the first one side. If my old boyfriend who was visiting me had done that, I would have heard him opening and shutting the door, because he would have had to, and he wouldn't have been able to reach without climbing on something to make that whole face. So that was really creepy, because that was the last thing that I saw when I was in that house. And that was my haunted Cobleskill house in upstate New York. More stories later.